Oklahoma is coming off a miserable first year under Brent Venables. Their defense got bullied and beat up throughout the year. Not something you'd expect from a Brent Venables-led program. The Sooners suffered their first losing season in 25 years. Bringing on coaching insider Jesse Simonton to talk a little Oklahoma Sooners. Jesse, you wrote an article yesterday insinuating OU could be the next TCU. After watching Oklahoma last year, though, do you feel the Sooners went through growing pains in year one, or were they more like red flags for the future?
I think there were growing pains. I don't think Brent Venables forgot how to coach defense in 1 year. One thing that I think a lot of folks kind of overlooked with Oklahoma a year ago was just how much that roster really was turned over. There was some 40% had never played a single down in a Sooners uniform before. And we've seen change can work in some places, but sometimes that much abrupt newness just doesn't kind of mesh. And clearly, I think Oklahoma lacked depth and beef on defense. And Brent Venables tried to overcompensate. And so while they created some havoc, led the Big 12 in interceptions, were up there in sacks, they were just hemorrhaged by big plays. And so their inability to get stops is a big reason they allowed 40 points 5 times and lost 5 games by a single score. You kind of flip some of that stuff. The depth is much better this fall. What he's done on the recruiting trail has been impressive. He's brought in some nice transfers from 6 different Power 5 programs. I think the ingredients are there. If Brent Venables is right that they're going to be on another planet defensively, for them to make a real leap in 2023.
Do you feel like Brent Venables did enough in 22 to kind of keep the fan base on his side, or does he still have to win them over?
Yeah, that's a good question. I think, I would say based on my Twitter mentions when this column came out, that the Oklahoma fan base is still a pretty proud fan base. This is a program that has been seen as recession proof.
Right.
They've been really good almost their entire existence, no matter what conference they were in, no matter what coach they had, except for a brief blip in the early 90s. They've been an awesome team. And so I think there's a lot of faith and optimism that, yes, last year was painful, but they're going to bounce back. And, they believe they are recession proof. And this economy, we'll see. But right now, I think the signs are there that last year was an outlier. They're going to move forward and kind of return, I think, to maybe be the king of the Big 12 in that final season in the conference.
Talking about outliers, last year the Oklahoma defense just seemed to lack that edge. How can Brent Venables get that back in just one offseason?
I think he believes that kind of some of the new pieces he's brought in, some experienced Power 5 transfers, and then honestly, he kind of has conviction that the guys who are returning, the Big 12's top tackler, a bunch of defensive linemen, a couple guys in the secondary, that maybe there's a little more buy-in and cohesiveness from that group, that that they're more committed and they're more understanding of the expectations and what it's going to need to take to kind of get back to those winning ways that maybe some of them had experienced a couple of years prior with Lincoln Riley.
All right, Jesse. So what gives you hope that Oklahoma could be this year's TCU?
Yeah, some Oklahoma fans were mad at that framing that, well, TCU was a one-hit wonder and they've never been good. I'm just saying a team that was under 500 and then soared to the top of the Big 12. TCU was 5-7. They make some significant changes, bada boom, bada bing, and suddenly you're in the playoff. I don't know if Oklahoma is going to be a playoff team, but I could certainly see them winning the Big 12 because the schedule is very favorable. They miss Kansas State and Texas Tech, two of the feistier teams in the conference. They bring back Dylan Gabriel at quarterback, second year with Jeff Lebby at offensive coordinator, some nice playmakers. So if the defense just becomes competent, doesn't have to be some world-beating unit, doesn't even have to be a top 25 defense. If they can go from the hundreds that they were in almost every category a year ago to middle of the pack in the 50s, I think the rest of the ingredients are there for Oklahoma to win 10, 11 games and compete with Texas for a Big 12 title.
Do you think that they did enough in recruiting and the transfer portal this season to, like you're saying, basically double their win total?
Yeah, I do because I think they've kind of addressed the specific needs in the transfer portal. They went out and got, all right, we need this, edge guy. They got McCullough from Indiana, who was an all, Big Ten freshman of the year guy who is kind of a hybrid edge linebacker. They bring in a couple starters in the secondary, and then they go out on the recruiting trail and they flip Peyton Bowen, the 5-star safety from Oregon, and they land a edge guy who's expected to contribute on day one. And so I think, Lincoln Riley didn't just grab guys to grab guys. Brent Venables, he addressed specific needs that I think will allow them to be, again, just competent defense in 2023.
All right, Jesse. Well, if it's true and Oklahoma does make a run to compete for a national title, then I think there's going to be some apologies in your mentions on Twitter.
I could see it. No, that's not how Twitter works.
That's
we
not
know
going to
that's not
happen.
how Twitter works.
That's not how it works in college football. All right, Jesse, thanks for dropping in on Coach's Corner to talk a little Oklahoma Sooners.
Thank you for watching. Make sure you smash that subscribe button for me. And remember to check out all the videos on the On3 YouTube page.